Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MSP. This is a quick update for the massive strike that took place this morning and was actually a bigger strike than the statistics I shared with you this morning had led us to believe. But actually the Ukrainians did a really good job of dealing with those weapons. This is the infographic that we often see. Most days we see this unless there's nothing really happening. And you can see there's a huge number of both drones and cruise missiles and a number of other types of missiles. We'll look at the stats as they as they've been interpreted by those looking at the general staff release it. Well, actually, not general staff. The Ukrainian Air Force commander Mykola Oleschuk giving details of the huge strike. I'm not going to talk about what was hit, although I will note that it is now understood that all of the targets were critical infrastructure targets, and none of them, at least according to some sources, none of them were military target hits. Now, just because it's slightly easier than this small typeface to read it from here, I'm going to read what Oleschuk says. So, on the night of Monday, 26th of August, 2024, the Russian occupiers launched a massive combined attack on the critical infrastructure of Ukraine, in particular on the fuel and energy sector of the state, using various types of air, land, and sea-based missiles. Now, we've actually got evidence that they have fired them from sea for the first time in a long time, but they might have been doing this, but I was under the impression that the sea based cruise missile launchers, those ships and submarines, hadn't been doing so much of this. They've been moved out of Sevastopol to Novorossiysk and out of Novorossiysk to the port in Abkhazia on the Georgian coast. Well, it looks like they were working here. Footage of Russians launching Caliber cruise missiles from ships of the Black Sea Fleet this morning. 28 Caliber missiles were launched by Russians, and in total 236 missiles and drones of different types were launched during today's Russian attack on Ukraine. Okay, to go back to Oleschuk, a total of 236 means of air attack of the enemy were identified and monitored by radio engineering troops of the Air Force. 127 missiles, 109 UAVs, 109 drones. We'll come back to that. So actually, this was a huge attack. And I said, it's interesting that this was smaller than I'd possibly thought it would have been, because I was waiting for a massive missile attack, and that shows that they are not producing as many missiles as they might lead us to believe. This gets me to change my view. New information, new conclusions. So there were a huge number of missiles sent, but they've still had to stockpile for these missiles. So we haven't seen massive use of missiles for some time. And if we look at the I don't know if Dell has updated the stats with these figures, as these seem to only just be coming out at the moment. But the general staff figures that are released on a daily basis, if you look at the last couple of months, there have been no missile attacks. So this is a stockpiling of a couple of months worth of missiles, which, although I'll slightly change my conclusion, I'm not really changing my conclusion. They don't have enough to send these sorts of missile attacks as frequently as they were at the beginning of the war. I mean, you look at that period of the war and you're getting frequent use of missiles of over 50, 60, 70 missiles that were taking place on a couple of week basis, right? Maybe even every week to some degree. So that patch, compared to where we're at now, is a very different usage of missiles. So although they ended up sending double the amount of missiles than I thought they had at that moment, although we weren't really sure how many they had sent, the conclusion is broadly the same. Anyway, they sent 3 KH-47M2 Kinzhal, so those are the aeroballistic, supposedly hypersonic missiles from the airspace of the Ryazan and Lipetsk regions in the Russian Foundation. 6 ballistic missiles, the Iskander M or KN-23, the North Korean ones from Kursk, Voronezh Asia regions, and from Crimea. 77 KH-101 cruise missiles from Tu-95MS aircraft from the airspace of the Volgograd region and the Caspian Sea region. 28 Caliber cruise missiles from the service underwater carriers in the eastern part of the Black Sea. So that's from around Novorossiysk, Abkhazia area, 28 Caliber cruise missiles. 3 KH-22. By the way, one of these Tu bombers has disappeared from radar. Did Tu-95MS bomber disappeared from radar this morning, so they might have lost a bomber or something might have happened. Who knows? But interesting little nugget there. So 3 KH-22 cruise missiles from airspace of the Voronezh region, 10 KH-59 and 69 guided air missiles from Su-57 or Su-34 aircraft from the airspace of the Belgorod region. That's the kind of place that you'd like to have taken out air bases when they could. And from Mariupol district in occupied Ukraine, 109 strike drones, the Shahid 131 and 136s, launched from Primorsk, Akhtarsk, Kursk, Yeysk, all in the Russian Federation, and Chowder in Crimea. Okay, all available weapons and equipment were involved in the repulse of the air attack. Aviation, anti-air for air defense troops and the Air Force, mobile fire groups for the Defense Force of Ukraine, and electronic warfare units. In total, 201 air targets were shot down, 102 missiles, and 99 attack drones. Okay, so that's an important stat. So 236 were sent. 201 were taken down by air defense. So this doesn't include electronic warfare, and one's falling short and one's missing. Okay, so of the 236 things that were sent into Russia, 201 of them were intercepted. That's incredibly good, considering that's a massive, overwhelming wave of ordnance. Really very good. To shoot down 201, 236 is excellent. 99 of the 109 drones were shot down. So only 10 drones got through of the 109 that were sent. Right. So that is, give or take, 10% of the drones got through. A little bit less actually than 10%, maybe 9% of the drones got through. Now, considering how many there were, that is very good. 102 missiles out of the 127, so 25 missiles got through. Now, that's very bad. Of course, 25 missiles is a huge number, but actually, given the number that they sent, and given how many were ballistic missiles or Kinzhals, so we've got 9 ballistic or Kinzhal missiles, that's not too bad. Again, it's overwhelming the Ukrainian air defenses there. In addition, several units of drones were lost in location on the territory of Ukraine. 2 more crossed the state border with the Republic of Belarus. I don't know. It means that they were lost, went into Belarus and didn't come back, type thing. So, anyway, the idea here, well, this is what we hear from the analysis from NOL reports, is 1 out of the 3 Kinzhals was taken down, 1 out of the 6 Iskander M, so the ballistic missiles, was taken down. So they did have a tiny bit of success with those more difficult to shoot down missiles. 1 out of the KH-22 was taken out. And then the KH-101, the Caliber cruise missiles, much easier ones to take out, 99 out of the 115. Were taken out. So still that's 16 of those, and then plus another 5 and another 2, 16, 11, 23. So that's a slightly different stat there. I don't know what's the most accurate here. That's 23 as opposed to, I think we had 27 here. So or no, 25. Anyway, there or thereabouts is a number of missiles that got through. Given the enormous size of this attack, air defense did extremely well, says NOL reports, and I'd have to agree. That's an incredibly good interception rate, given that you're not just dealing with 20 drones and missiles, you are dealing with 236 of those. And that's a massive challenge, right? There's footage coming out. Here's a German self-propelled anti-aircraft gun, the Gepard, that fires with those 2 autocannons into the air. Fairly old bit of kit from Germany, but having a second wind these days is incredibly useful. Has a 25-kilometer radar. You can see the radar active there. And this one is a Ukrainian one that was mapping Russian kamikaze drone, one of those Shahid drones this morning, and then supposedly took it out of the air. And you can see it. You can see the radar effectively showing that, and then what's going on inside the machine itself. So you can go and check that out, find these things online. We've seen footage from a helicopter. This is a Mi-24. We've seen footage of a guy poking out the side with a heavy machine gun taking out a Shahid drone. I would be not too happy with being underneath that, thinking it could fall out of the sky on my head anytime soon. But you have there another, this time from the ground, and another image of a helicopter chasing a drone, a Mi-24 shooting down the Shahid drone there eventually. And this is part of the air defense that is the part of the air defense network. You can see it starting to smoke and then comes down, being carried out by all those different types of teams that Oleszczuk talked about in his appraisal there. So really effective air defense from the Ukrainians. But of course, with so many being fired, that means so many more get through. Now, Defense of Ukraine, Rustem Umerov, the defense minister of Ukraine, has said that overnight Russia attacked our cities again. Civilians suffered, houses were destroyed, and critical infrastructure was damaged. This once again proves that for victory, we need long-range capabilities and lifting of restrictions on strikes on the enemy's military facilities. Here's the key: Ukraine is preparing its answers. Weapons of own production. In other words, we are going to answer this by firing at, one presumes, those enemy military facilities with weapons of our own production. We've heard about that rocket, missile, drone, whatever you want to call it, the Paliantsia. You are seeing the Neptune be developed as a missile that could be brought to bear against such facilities. And hopefully, very soon, we'll have Ukraine being able to hit those facilities without seeking restrictions being lifted by the US to do it themselves. If you want a job doing well, you've got to do it yourself, as they say. So that could be the answer that we see imminently from Ukraine. I hope so. But this is a huge attack, and it's going to put an awful lot of strain, particularly on the energy infrastructure of Ukraine. There have been these blackouts in Ukraine today in a number of places, but also Moldova. Ukraine had just started getting on its feet and exporting energy again to neighboring countries, and now it's back to square one. It appears, I don't know the level of damage done to Ukrainian infrastructure. There are pictures of a number of places with smoke coming from them. We've seen the damage to the dam in Kiev. We've seen a massive cloud, some kind of explosion, something on fire in Odessa. So Odessa was certainly hit badly. But anyway, that is the information we have so far there that I thought would be useful for you. Here is the imagery from Odessa, which is that's a huge old strike. So I don't know what's been hit in Odessa, but that is massively, massively significant there. And we have a map of the drone and missile trajectories or the routes here. A lot of targets in western Ukraine. I was thinking originally this was military infrastructure. I don't think, well, apparently not anymore. It is thought to be critical energy infrastructure and civilian infrastructure. And you can see an awful lot of those targets were very, very far to the western Ukraine. Some elsewhere. Odessa not featuring on here, but that was definitely hit as well. This will not have the tracking of all. Obviously, you've got 100 and whatever drones and 100 and whatever missiles, so there's an awful lot to track here. There'll be other places that were hit too, but yeah, a whole range of places hit right across Ukraine, from Dnipro, Poltava, Dnipropetrovsk there, close to Mykolaiv here, and then further west to Lviv and Lutsk and Rivne and all these other places. Vinnytsia was also targeted too. So anyway, that's enough from me. Thanks for watching. I thought that'd be of interest to you. Take care. Speak soon.